Welcome to Book Buzz Reviews and Summaries. Book, Executive Presence, What Nobody Ever Tells You About Getting Ahead by Sylvia Ann Hewlett. Imagine walking into a room and commanding attention, not because of your title, your degree, or your accomplishments, but because of the way you carry yourself. That magnetic force is called executive presence, and it is the invisible accelerator that separates those who rise to the top from those who plateau in the shadows. Executive presence is not a mysterious gift. It is a skill you can master. It's the powerful combination of gravitas, the quiet confidence that makes people trust and follow you, communication, the art of speaking and listening in ways that inspire and persuade, and appearance, the subtle signals that reinforce your authority and credibility. The truth is, the world doesn't just reward talent or hard work. It rewards how others perceive you. Leaders with executive presence command respect, influence outcomes, and open doors that others never see. They handle pressure with calm decisiveness, speak with clarity and conviction, and project a confidence that draws people in. Whether you're breaking through biases, navigating high-stakes situations, or simply seeking to be seen as a leader, executive presence is your secret weapon. It is not about being someone else. It's about amplifying the best of who you are and showing the world that you belong at the table. Master your presence, and you don't just climb the ladder. You shape the very trajectory of your career. Part 1 Summary: The hidden force behind career success. Imagine walking into a room and instantly commanding attention, not because of your title, your accomplishments, or your pedigree, but because of the way you carry yourself. That subtle, almost magnetic quality is what Sylvia Ann Hewlett calls executive presence, the elusive blend of gravitas, communication, and appearance that separates those who get ahead from those who get overlooked. In Part 1, Hewlett embarks on a journey to unravel what has long been a silent secret in the corridors of corporate power. She opens by challenging a fundamental misconception. Success is not solely about what you do, but about how you show up. It's not enough to be competent, hardworking, or brilliant. Without executive presence, those qualities may go unnoticed. She illustrates this with compelling stories from high-powered executives who, despite exceptional resumes, struggled to rise simply because they lacked that commanding aura. Hewlett breaks executive presence into 3 interconnected dimensions: gravitas, communication, and appearance. Gravitas is the crown jewel. It is that quiet confidence that makes people listen when you speak, that earns you trust in moments of crisis, and that projects authority without arrogance. She emphasizes that gravitas is less about style and more about substance. It's about how you carry responsibility, handle stress, and project reliability. It is, she argues, the unmistakable signal of leadership potential. Next, communication, the art of expressing ideas clearly, persuasively, and authentically, is explored. Hewlett notes that many capable professionals falter because they underestimate the power of presence in speech. It's not just the content of what you say, but the cadence, tone, and timing. Pausing at the right moment, listening attentively, and crafting concise, compelling messages can create an invisible force field of influence. She warns against the twin traps of verbosity and hesitation. Both undermine credibility and diminish presence. Finally, she addresses appearance, not as superficial vanity, but as a form of professional signaling. How you dress, your posture, and even your grooming send messages about confidence and capability. Hewlett is careful to note that executive presence is not about fitting a rigid mold. It's about aligning your appearance with your professional identity in a way that reinforces gravitas and communication. In other words, your exterior should amplify, not overshadow, the authority you command through your actions and words. What makes Part 1 so powerful is Hewlett's insistence on actionable insight. She doesn't simply define executive presence, she gives readers a mirror to examine themselves. She asks provocative questions. Do people listen when you speak? Or do they wait for someone else to talk? Do your gestures inspire confidence? Or inadvertently signal uncertainty? Are you mindful of the signals your appearance sends in critical moments? Each question is a wake-up call, forcing introspection and a deeper understanding that executive presence is something to cultivate deliberately, not leave to chance. Hewlett also introduces a critical insight about perception versus reality. Executive presence is often more about how others perceive you than how you perceive yourself. A brilliant idea unspoken, a confident posture ignored, a clear message muddled. These gaps can stall careers. Success, she argues, requires bridging the internal capabilities you possess with the external signals that others interpret. By the end of Part 1, the reader is left with a profound realization. Executive presence is not a mysterious gift bestowed on a few. It is a skill set to be learned, practiced, and refined. Hewlett paints it as both an art and a science, one where awareness, practice, and strategic alignment of gravitas, communication, and appearance converge to create undeniable influence. Hewlett's narrative is compelling because it balances practical guidance with storytelling. Anecdotes of leaders rising to prominence, others faltering despite talent, and real-world examples of misjudged perceptions breathe life into her analysis. The reader feels both inspired and challenged, aware that the journey toward executive presence is as much about self-mastery as it is about professional ambition. In essence, Part 1 is a call to awareness. The foundation of your career is not only built on what you know or what you do, it's built on how the world experiences you. Mastering executive presence begins here by understanding its dimensions, recognizing the gaps in your own presence, and committing to the deliberate, courageous work of refinement. Part 2 Summary: The Gender Lens and Hidden Dynamics of Executive Presence. As we move into Part 2, Hewlett shifts her gaze from the universal framework of executive presence to the nuances of perception in the workplace, particularly how gender shapes who is seen as a leader and who is overlooked. Here, the book transitions from defining executive presence to exploring the subtle, often invisible barriers that prevent talent from rising despite competence and skill. Hewlett begins by confronting a harsh reality. Women often face a double bind in cultivating executive presence. A woman who exhibits gravitas, confidence, decisiveness, authority, may be admired in theory, but in practice, she risks being labeled aggressive or unlikable. Conversely, if she softens her presence to avoid backlash, she may be perceived as lacking authority. Hewlett presents this as a perception paradox. The same behaviors are interpreted differently depending on who demonstrates them. She emphasizes that executive presence is inseparable from social context. The environment, the culture, and the biases of the audience all shape how leadership is recognized. The section on communication deepens this exploration. Hewlett notes that verbal style, vocal tone, and nonverbal cues carry disproportionate weight in professional evaluations. She reveals fascinating research showing that women are often penalized for speaking too little or too much, for using a warm tone versus a commanding tone, or for asserting themselves too forcefully. Yet these same traits, when exhibited by men, may be rewarded as natural leadership. Hewlett's insight is precise and unflinching. Mastering executive presence requires not only developing skills, but navigating the social interpretations of those skills. Next, Hewlett addresses strategic self-presentation. Here, she combines gravitas, communication, and appearance into a toolkit for career advancement. It's no longer enough to be competent. One must craft presence intentionally, signaling authority, reliability, and clarity. She provides practical techniques, cultivating a confident posture that conveys strength without aggression, refining speech patterns to be concise and persuasive, and aligning appearance with role and context. These are not superficial adjustments. They are deliberate choices that reinforce the perception of leadership. An especially compelling portion of Part 2 is Hewlett's focus on mentorship, sponsorship, and visibility. Executive presence does not exist in isolation. It is amplified or diminished by social networks. Hewlett stresses the importance of mentors who provide guidance and sponsors who actively advocate on your behalf. These relationships help navigate the subjective judgments that define career progression. Without visibility, talent can go unrecognized, regardless of the quality of work. The book underscores that being seen as a leader is as important as being a capable professional. Hewlett also integrates real-world stories to illustrate these dynamics. She shares examples of women and men who either faltered or soared based on how others interpreted their presence. These narratives are riveting because they demonstrate that executive presence is not merely a personal quality, but a socially negotiated phenomenon. The stakes are high, the nuances subtle, and the difference between success and stagnation can hinge on a single interaction, a gesture, or a phrase. Finally, Part 2 is a masterclass in awareness and adaptation. Hewlett doesn't suggest abandoning authenticity. Rather, she encourages cultivating a conscious, flexible presence. Recognize how your behaviors are perceived, understand the unspoken rules of your environment, and choose strategies that maximize influence without compromising integrity. She calls this the art of being both genuine and strategic, a theme that resonates throughout the book. By the end of Part 2, the reader grasps that executive presence is not only a personal skill set, but a dynamic interplay of perception, context, and action. Success hinges on mastering this interplay, understanding the hidden rules of leadership evaluation, and taking deliberate steps to ensure your presence conveys authority, credibility, and vision. Hewlett transforms executive presence from a vague, elusive concept into a tangible, actionable framework, showing that anyone can learn to harness it with awareness, practice, and strategy. Part 3 Summary: Building, Mastering, and Leveraging Executive Presence. Part 3 of Hewlett's groundbreaking work moves from awareness and understanding into actionable mastery. If Part 1 was about defining executive presence, and Part 2 explored perception and bias, Part 3 is about how to intentionally cultivate presence and wield it to achieve career success. Here, Hewlett delivers her most practical guidance, showing readers that executive presence is not a mystical trait reserved for the chosen few. It is a set of skills that can be learned, practiced, and amplified. Hewlett begins by revisiting gravitas, the cornerstone of executive presence, and deconstructs it into its constituent behaviors: decision-making, emotional intelligence, integrity, and the ability to inspire confidence. Gravitas is not just about looking confident. It's about acting with authority under pressure. She emphasizes that leaders who project gravitas are calm in crisis, decisive under ambiguity, and consistent in their values. Hewlett presents this as both a mindset and a practice. The way you respond to stress, conflict, and high-stakes moments is the single most visible indicator of leadership potential. Next, she drills deeply into communication mastery. Hewlett stresses that presence is magnified or undermined by how you speak, listen, and connect with others. She provides actionable strategies. Speak concisely, but with impact. Frame your messages for influence. Use storytelling to make ideas memorable, and maintain active listening to build trust. She underscores that communication is a tool for alignment and influence, not just information exchange. Every word, pause, and gesture communicates competence, or the lack of it. Hewlett then tackles appearance and nonverbal cues, reframing them as deliberate instruments of leadership. Posture, attire, eye contact, and even movement are signals that shape perception. She emphasizes alignment. Appearance should reinforce gravitas and communication, not distract from them. Here, she makes a critical point. Small adjustments can create outsized effects. Simple refinements in dress, grooming, or body language can transform how colleagues, superiors, and stakeholders perceive your authority. Part 3 also dives into the importance of mentorship, sponsorship, and networking in building executive presence. Hewlett explains that mastery alone is insufficient if it is invisible. Leaders need advocates who can amplify their presence and help navigate organizational politics. She highlights the distinction between mentors, guides, and sponsors, advocates, urging readers to cultivate relationships that provide both guidance and opportunities for visibility. Perhaps the most transformative insight in this section is Hewlett's focus on feedback and self-awareness. Executive presence is dynamic. It evolves with context, culture, and personal growth. Hewlett encourages readers to seek candid feedback, observe reactions, and adjust behaviors intentionally. Presence is not static. It is a continuous process of learning, adapting, and reinforcing the qualities that signal leadership. Hewlett closes Part 3 with a compelling discussion on sustaining executive presence over time. True presence is not just about climbing the ladder. It's about being consistently reliable, influential, and inspiring throughout your career. She emphasizes resilience, authenticity, and strategic cultivation. The combination of these qualities ensures that executive presence is not temporary flair, but a durable, career-defining force. By the end of Part 3, the reader has been equipped with a complete roadmap, understanding the essence of presence, recognizing how perception and bias shape evaluations, and applying concrete strategies to command authority, inspire confidence, and accelerate career success. Hewlett transforms executive presence from an abstract ideal into a practical, actionable, and achievable skill set. In essence, executive presence is learnable, not innate. It combines gravitas, communication, and appearance, amplified by awareness and strategy. Visibility, sponsorship, and feedback are essential to ensure your presence is recognized. With deliberate practice, anyone can influence how they are perceived and unlock career advancement. 3 takeaways from the book. Takeaway 1. Gravitas is your silent power. Gravitas, the ability to project confidence, decisiveness, and calm under pressure, is the single most visible sign of leadership. It's not about titles or credentials. It's about how you handle pressure, inspire trust, and command respect in every interaction. Leaders with gravitas make others feel safe to follow, and it's the quality that separates those who get promoted from those who remain overlooked. Your gravitas is your silent power. Cultivate it, and the world will notice. Takeaway 2. Communication can make or break you. The way you speak, listen, and connect conveys authority as much as, if not more than, your ideas. Effective communication is about clarity, presence, and resonance, being concise, persuasive, and authentic while making others feel understood. A well-timed word, a confident pause, or a compelling story can open doors that hard work alone cannot. Master communication, and your influence skyrockets. Takeaway 3. Presence is perception. Shape it strategically. Executive presence is not just what you do, it's how others perceive you. Appearance, posture, networking, and visibility all signal authority. Small, deliberate adjustments in how you present yourself can dramatically shift how colleagues, bosses, and stakeholders respond. Combine authenticity with strategic self-presentation, and you don't just rise, you command respect and create opportunities wherever you go. Thanks for listening to Book Buzz Reviews and Summaries.